I came to the part which I think this is very important that you included in your book and which Tolkien emphasizes. And it goes like this. Sam sees that his individual call and that of Frodo is part of a larger tapestry in which each individual call works together to bring about the destined and hoped for end. What Tolkien liked to call the eucatastrophe, the good end that rises up miraculously out of what seemed at first to be defeat and death. This is so beautiful. So God uses what was supposed to be by the enemy, the death, the destruction, the desolation, right? And God brings light, life, and victory. So can we please elaborate about
Oh, it's
this for like
amazing.
half a minute?
Tolkien wrote an essay. It's kind of almost a book-length essay called "On Fairy Stories," and at the end of that, he coins a new word, eucatastrophe. In other words, EU catastrophe. We all know what catastrophe means, a downturn. EU is the Greek prefix that means good, eugenics, euphonious. So the eucatastrophe is the good catastrophe, which is really kind of an oxymoron, right? It seems to be. But what happens in real fairy tales, and in a sense, the Bible is a real fairy tale, if you want to call it that, a true one, a historical one. A lot of times, everything seems to be going down, and then there's this miraculous grace. Now, being a strong Catholic, I'm surprised that Tolkien did not use an already powerful Catholic phrase, Felix culpa. Goes back to Augustine, and it was popular in the Middle Ages. Felix means happy. Culpa, as in culpable, means guilt. So the Felix culpa is the happy guilt. That's an oxymoron. What is that about? Well, the Felix culpa was the fall of man. Now, how can you consider the fall of man to be a good thing? Well, in and of itself, it's not a good thing. It's only good because it will lead to the greater act of love when God enters the world as a man, what we call the incarnation, the first Christmas. Now, Nicola, what do we call the day that Jesus was crucified? What do we call that day?
Oh, are you talking about the Good Friday?
Yeah, Good Friday. Now, did you ever think about that? Good Friday? Have we lost our minds? The single worst day in human history, Good Friday? Well, it's not good in and of itself. It's only good because it leads to the victory of Easter Sunday. Right? And both you and I have a sort of Orthodox background. And at Easter, they sing this beautiful hymn in the Orthodox Church. And the words are, Christ is risen from the dead by death, trampling on death. And to those in the tombs, he granted life. Sounds better in Greek. The Greek syntax literally is by death, death, trampling. So the two words death are right next to each other with different endings. So, and we're talking about the sort of harrowing of hell when Jesus went down and broke the gates of hell. And so by his death, he destroyed death. Now, the great eucatastrophe in Lord of the Rings, which is incredibly moving, no matter how many times you've read it, how many times you've seen it, is when Frodo gets to the very end, struggling all this way. He's about to throw the ring into Mount Doom and let it be destroyed. And he says, no, I will not destroy it. Puts the ring on. And then, only because of the pity that he and Sam and Bilbo has showed to Gollum, Gollum jumps in and bites the ring off his finger and then falls into the volcano. Right? That is an unexpected grace, never to happen again, never expected. And yet, that is often the way God works, so that God can take even our sin and use it for greater glory and greater grace. Now, that doesn't mean we should sin so that grace should abound. Let's not fall into that heresy. But God can, I like to think of God as a conductor of an orchestra who is so perfect and skilled that if I'm a violinist and I'm playing off key, he can somehow use that and blend it into the symphony to make it even more beautiful. So the eucatastrophe, there's also a eucatastrophe, of course, in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and which is a replay of Good Friday and Easter Sunday, when Aslan is actually killed, but then he rises from the dead and breaks the power of the White Witch, an unexpected grace. But that's what all of history turns on.